Hey everyone, it's Brett from Hope to Prosper, and I'm here with Maria and Millie, and we are at the Virgin River Gorge. I don't know if we're in Utah or Arizona. I think Utah, and we're out on a little hike and a walkabout. So I hope you enjoy the beautiful footage, and it's been an awesome weekend, and we're happy to be away and out and traveling again. Okay, I'll let you know what I have on my mind in just a minute. Today I want to talk about escaping the rat race and some of the not so fond memories of surviving the workplace. And I've said a number of times on this channel, I still have a lot of work-related dreams, and I'm not sure exactly why. The good news is that the old high-pressure work nightmare type dreams are gone, and they've been replaced with work dreams that are a lot more pleasant, like, talking around the water cooler or figuring out what to get for lunch. The bad news is, man, I have no idea why I still keep dreaming about work instead of being on a beach somewhere and being retired. Whenever I wake up, I'm like, phew, thank God I don't have to do that work thing anymore. But I still keep having the dreams, and I'm not sure why. So hopefully I'll figure it out soon. But in the meantime, I thought I would go over some tips for those who are still trapped in the rat race and some fun flashbacks for those who've escaped. So first, before we get started, I want to give a retirement shout out to one of my longtime viewers, Tony Galuz. Tony retired on March 3rd at the age of 60 as a technical worker, kind of like myself. And now he's out. He's out of the rat race. And since Tony, he lives about 15, 20 miles north of me, he's kind of we invited him to join, and he's joined our early retired crew. So he's been hanging out with us, going on some hikes and having some bagels and just enjoying the crew. So that's Tony on the middle. So congratulations, Tony. Welcome to the early retired crew. Okay, so let's start with work culture, aka conformity. One of the things about the rat race is employers, they act like work culture is a benefit, but really it's a set of kind of an underhanded set of rules that you need to follow. You need to conform to their culture. It's not the other way around. And, it starts with uniforms. Back in the day, back in the 80s, we used to wear white shirts and ties. And, you were either white collar or you were blue collar. Since then, it's kind of broken down. They went to business casual in the 90s where you wore Dockers and golf shirts. But the expectations are still the same. You wear a uniform, you conform to the culture, and you need to look and act so that you fit in. And then there's the concept of taking one for the team. It goes without saying that you're going to have to go above and beyond for the company. If you might have to work nights or weekends or stay late, whatever the company decides, you have to take one for the team, and you have to fall in line to get the job done. And then another thing on work culture is you kind of need to put your politics and your personal opinions aside. You need to keep them to yourself, and then kind of adopt the company line. If the company is more liberal, you have to kind of act more liberal. If the company is more conservative, you might have to do that. And jokes and innuendos, man, they could be fatal for your career. I'm old enough that I remember when people joked around a lot more, and people had their own personal opinions, and that was fine. But nowadays, boy, it's tough. I know somebody who told his coworker a joke, and some other person overheard from like 3 cubicles away. Wasn't even intended, and boy, that guy had to go in front of a board and got in all kinds of trouble. So you kind of have to suppress your own personal opinions, suppress, your religious, your politics, and you kind of have to fit in with the company. So that's the work culture. And another thing I noticed is there's been like a generation of a generational warfare, kind of like, when I was younger, I remember looking up to the older guys, and I had mentors, and I had people who taught me the businesses from the inside out, and people who had been there for decades. Now it doesn't seem like the younger workers regard the older workers well. Like they look at Gen Xers and Boomers like, dinosaurs who don't know anything. And that's a shame because older workers really can be a huge resource, especially for people who are just starting out. Okay, let's talk about the ladder of success. Boy, I remember this well. To some people, the ladder of success is like a golden opportunity, and then to other people, it's just a big scam. And I would say both are true. So the first problem is the 2% raise or the 3% raise, depending on where you work. No matter how hard you work or what you do, you almost always get a 2% raise or 3% raise, whatever the company gives out. And, in a way, it's good. You got a raise. But on another way, inflation's 4 or 5% and you get a 2% raise every year. You can really get behind, which happened to me. I worked for 2 jobs for over a decade. And boy, the raises didn't add up after a while. I actually had to leave one company just because I wasn't making enough. And this is tied into the annual objectives. They make you write down what you're going to do over the next year. And then you have all these objectives you're supposed to meet. And even when you meet them, somehow or other, you get a mediocre review and the 3% raise. And it's kind of a scam, I'll be honest. I was later in my career, I got so angry about it. I gave 10 objectives. I nailed them all. And I got the 2% raise and the mediocre review. And I was watching another YouTube channel where they were describing this little scam. And then they were saying, it's just part of company culture. They do it on purpose. And there's only so much money set aside for raises. And there's a bell curve. So certain people almost everybody's going to get the mediocre review. And that's just how it is. I remember getting really angry about it and then realizing later, wait a minute, it had nothing to do with me or my objectives or my success or, my effort. It was just basically a company scam. So anyways, I don't miss that. Degrees and certificates, that's another thing that's, tied to the ladder of success. I worked nights for many, many years. I went to night school for many, many years to get a computer science degree, and I worked really, really hard to get some certificates. And, those things benefited me, but nothing compared to the level of effort I put in. So next, let's talk about hustle culture and quiet quitters. There's some people, they rise and grind. They're gonna charge up that ladder and get it done. And I was one of those people, and I thought I was doing the right thing. In a way, I was. But then there were other people who seemed to just slide along, and they got the same 2% raise as me, and nobody hassled them. And so they weren't called quiet quitters back then. They were kind of slackers or sliders or check collectors, whatever you wanted to call them. So I think, you can get ahead with hustle culture, but in the workplace, it's basically designed to average everybody out. And in my career, I charged my way into middle management after about a decade of really working hard. I kind of worked hard my whole career, to be honest. And I don't feel bad about it because I accomplished a lot. But definitely you don't always get rewarded based on hustle culture and outperforming everyone. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about career-wise is gossipers and backstabbers. For most of my career, I didn't really worry about any of that. I didn't think it was an issue. I got along great with my coworkers. I made a lot of friends. I helped a lot of people. Whenever anybody had a problem with their technology or the network or anything of that sort, I helped them. And so I didn't really worry about backstabbers. But at my second to last job, there were 2 people. They were, quote, friends, right? And I had one of them just really, actually both of them kind of screwed me in the worst ways. And I didn't expect it. Didn't expect it at all. These are people I supported for years. I mean, I did projects for them. I supported their whole, their whole departments. I wrote custom code for them. I did everything for them. We went out for beers and lunch. So when someone told me that person said a bunch of negative things about me in a review, man, I was really caught off guard. I was really bummed. I don't know if it was because the company was closing down and they were just rats on a sinking ship, but I expect I think they were doing it for years, and I just finally figured it out at the end. Anyways, gossipers and backstabbers, and it was the most disappointing thing to happen to me in my whole career. And luckily, it was just at the end. For most of my career, I didn't have to put up with that. All right, so let's talk about changing levels in retirement. Let's talk about leaving the rat race, and now you're retired, which is where a number of us are at or transitioning into. And I want to talk about what it's really like to be retired successfully and out of the rat race. And the first and most important thing I want to say is that the freedom from responsibilities and expectations is wonderful. It's amazing. I can't even tell you, all the responsibilities I had and all the expectations people had of me, they're gone. I only have my wife that has expectations and some of my family members. Besides that, I'm free of it. I'm free to be my authentic self. I don't have to be a certain way to get along with the culture. Not that I'm overbearing with my political views or my religious beliefs or anything else, but I'm free to be my authentic self, and that's a huge benefit of leaving the rat race. And I rely solely on myself. That's something that's really interesting. Being financially independent is an amazing thought. Not to have to show up every day to get your paycheck and jump through all these hoops and live within this culture just to get paid. So being financially independent, it gives you an independent mindset, and it also frees you from all the expectations others have of you. And that leads to charting your own direction in your life, choosing your own goals. These things are really important to me. I don't miss the work culture at all. I really love the freedom culture in retirement and being financially independent and not depending on others for a paycheck and have them hold it on your head. Okay, so let's finish it up. Let's wrap it up. The bottom line is work isn't all bad, and I had some great jobs. I had some great memories and a lot of accomplishments and some great coworkers too. And although I miss my old coworkers, I definitely don't miss the grind. I don't even miss being in the game. The thought of grinding away for months or even years to accomplish somebody else's goal, it seems like a scam to me now. I mean, I know you get paid to do that, but man, now I work towards my own goals and I reap my own rewards. And when you leave the rat race for good, you have a lot of wonderful things to look forward to. You get to define your own purpose and your own objectives. You get to decide how much you want to grind or relax. You get to focus on yourself and your family instead of focusing on the needs of the company. And finally, you get to work on yourself instead of working on your job. Okay, everyone. Thanks for coming along this week. Hope you enjoyed the footage. Man, the beautiful Virgin River Gorge. And then also, man, it was a great time at the softball tournament. So thanks for coming along. We'll see you next week on our next big adventure. And I wish you all health, happiness, and prosperity in your lives.